joining our this afternoon session on updates on regional development cooperation and new requirements for performance evaluation. I'm from the Shanghai Institute for International Studies. I'm very honored to moderate this session. As you see, we have a very distinguished panelists sitting here. From my left side, let me have just a brief introduction. As you see, we have two gentlemen and two ladies. And the two gentlemen are from the ADB side, and the two ladies are from Chinese universities. So first, Director General Ayumi Konishi, he has a very rich experience in the MDBs, and I just picked some very relevant for our session today. He's currently the senior advisor to the CEO at the Secretariat of the Multilateral Cooperation Center for Development Finance, MCDF, which is based actually in the AIB. He will introduce more on that. But he has a very more than 40 years of experience with the United Nations and Asian Development Bank, and his final position is the Special Senior Advisor to the President of the ADB until 2020. And before that, he was the Director General for East Asia Development. And he actually himself led the regional cooperation project in the in the ADB, including the Greater Mekong Sub-Regional Economic Cooperation Program we will study later. So, and the second gentleman and Dr. Houqi Hong, or Hong Houqi in Chinese way, and he will be our leading speaker today. He is the Principal Evaluation Specialist at the Independent Evaluation Department of the ADB, and he leads thematic corporate program and project evaluations at the IED of the ADB. And he used to work in the World Bank and also in the Chinese Ministry of Finance, and also taught at the Tongji University, also in Shanghai. So he is a very seasoned expert on the evaluation. And for the two ladies, Professor Lu Yang is from the Tsinghua University. He's a research fellow at the Institute of the Belt and Road Initiative at the Tsinghua University, and also the Vice Secretary General of Tsinghua Symposium. His expertise focuses on the India and South Asia, Germany, and Europe. So he is also a resident scholar of Tsinghua Courage Center, lecturer at the South Asia Institute and Heidelberg University in Germany, etc. So he will speak on the Chinese practice on the evaluation. And last but not the least, Professor Gubo. Professor Gubo is from the College of International Development and Global Agriculture at the China Agricultural University. And Professor Qi focuses on the resource management and sustainable agriculture, rural collaborative innovation, and international development cooperation, covering numerous provinces in China, Southeast Asia, and over 10 countries in Sub-Saharan Africa. So he's also a very experienced expert on the international development cooperation. So, so now let's first invite Dr. Hong. Please present your finding on the ADB's projects on the sub-regional cooperation. Please, Mr. Hong. So every speaker will be given at most 15 minutes, so please keep your time, and probably I will be the timekeeper, please.
Thanks, Dr. Ye. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very delighted to have this opportunity to share the findings from and the methods used in our recent evaluations of ADB support for regional cooperation and integration, or RCR. RCR offers a range of significant social economic benefits and is a key priority of ADB corporate strategy. The Independent Evaluation Department, or IED, recently completed 3 evaluations of ADB's 3 major sub-regional programs. These include the Greater Mekong Sub-Regional Economic Cooperation Program, the Central Asia Regional Cooperation Program, or CAREC, and the South Asia Sub-Regional Economic Cooperation Program, SIIS. Based on these evaluations and conducting a review of additional sub-regional programs supported by ADB and also standalone RCR interventions, IED's 2025 annual evaluation review provided an assessment of all ADB's RCR interventions. This presentation focuses on the key findings, lessons learned, as well as the methods used in these evaluative studies. The basic method used in the evaluation is the theory of change analysis, which was used to analyze ADB's contribution from inputs to outputs, intermediate outcomes, and outcomes. This analysis involved consideration of contributions by other players, and it also involved the assessment of the significance of ADB's contributions. The analysis also required triangulating evidence from multiple sources, such as document and literature reviews, portfolio analysis, stakeholder interviews, and analysis of secondary data, due to the lack of significant evidence from any one single source. The analysis used GIS analysis, contribution tracing, and economic model to overcome the issue of data shortages in some instances. The detailed discussion about these methodologies can be found in the appendix of the CAREC evaluation. The link of this evaluation is provided at the end of this slide. The findings can be summarized as follows. ADB support for establishing the RCI mechanism was widely appreciated by member countries. They especially value ADB's neutral, honest broker role and ADB's technical assistance. ADB support made progress in helping improve regional connectivity, especially transport and energy connectivity. The contribution to competitiveness as measured by trade and investment, has been modest. Support for regional public goods, such as addressing transboundary environmental and social issues, is still at the early stage. This reflects the challenging nature of promoting ASEAN in these two areas, and the need for long-term engagement to achieve substantial results. ASEAN strategy has been relevant. It includes 3 pillars: connectivity, competitiveness, as measured by trade and investment, and the regional public goods. These strategic priorities have been consistent all the time, with increasing emphasis on regional public goods over the recent years. The 3 major ASEAN programs, as mentioned before, GMS, SASAC, CAREC, have aligned with the 3 pillars, while also adapting to the needs of the respective sub-regions. Other sub-regional programs mostly focused on connectivity and competitiveness, with less focus on regional public goods. LB standalone individual ASEAN operations as a whole were aligned with organizational priorities as well. These operations actually accounts for more than 50% of ADB's support for ASEAN. Member countries found the strategic priorities are aligned with the development needs. The 3 largest sub-regional programs made effective progress in improving transport and energy connectivity, but no significant results have been achieved in removing border bottlenecks and trade barriers, and in developing regional value chains. Although important contributions have been made to promote regional macroeconomic and financial stability. ADB supported renewable energy and energy efficiency programs in ASEAN interventions. Support for regional public goods as a whole, however, is still nascent, and only limited results have been achieved so far. Most standalone ASEAN operations lacked significant regional elements in their design and had a limited regional impact. On institutional development, ADB supported the establishment of appropriate institutional framework for the 3 largest ASEAN programs. Support for institutional development in other sub-regional programs was appreciated by member countries as well. ADB's role as the secretariat, as an honest broker, and a technical advisor is highly appreciated by the member countries. Going forward, there is a need to strengthen the focus on regional dimensions, operational guidance, and coordination with other development partners and stakeholders. No change. I'm talking about the next slide. Right? Press one more. Okay. Yeah. So the key lessons learned highlight the need to improve in the following areas. Enhance the contributions of both sectoral and thematic expertise to improve operational guidance, including the consensus building operations with member countries, and promote the effective delivery of the more complex competitiveness and the regional public goods agenda. Incorporate the role of non-sovereign operations in RCR to leverage their significant potential and to coordinate RCR support across different initiatives to enhance synergy. Strengthen support for the critical non-infrastructure areas, including trade facilitation, environmental cooperation, and investment in climate competition policy, to just name a few. Enhance RCR projects, transnational, ensure RCR projects to address transnational issues, enhance cross-country cooperation, and deliver substantive regional benefits. Lastly, improve monitoring and evaluation, including use of proper indicators, data collection, and results reporting. This is about the lessons learned on monitoring and evaluation. This includes focus on measuring regional benefits, such as cross-border flows of goods and services and energy, reduced trade barriers and trading costs, increased trade and transnational investment, improve the regional environmental and health outcomes, and improve the policy alignment and harmonization. This kind of assessment should be conducted for each ASEAN intervention. Second, carefully assess attribution and additionality of ASEAN, or the added benefits that arise from ASEAN. Exclude contributions from other factors, such as non-ASEAN related policy interventions by countries themselves. Spillover effects from single country projects, and even contribution by other development projects. Third, adaptive evaluation methods. Data availability is often limited for ASEAN intervention due to political sensitivity and political economy considerations. It's important to tailor evaluation approach to specific interventions. Some of these methods mentioned in previous slides can be strategically employed to address the need under the different situations, such as mentioned the theory of change analysis, GIS techniques, contribution tracing, and the econometric modeling. Lastly, monitoring reports should be prepared and discussed at regional platforms on a regular basis to ensure that gaps are identified and that corrective actions are taken on a timely basis. This is some links to the evaluations that this presentation has been based on for references. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Hong. Exactly 15 minutes. Thank you, and thank you for your very comprehensive and also I think very clear introduction about the ADB's several decades of projects on the regional cooperation and integration, summarizing the progresses, challenges, and I think also provides the recommendations for the future. I think it's not only useful for understanding the ADB's experience, but also I think which is very relevant in looking at the whole regional cooperation. So thank you again. And next, let's invite Professor Lu Yang from Tsinghua University to present her research on the Chinese International Development Cooperation Agency, which is called SIIS, probably which is relatively new for some of you here. So how SIIS is doing its evaluation. Please, Professor Lu.
Thank you, Professor Ye. 女士们、先生们，大家下午好。我是来自清华大学的陆阳。今天非常高兴呢，在这里有这样的机会跟大家分享一下我的研究。那么今天我演讲的题目是中国的国际发展合作实践评估，以国合署的对外援助项目评估体系为例。我首先呢来介绍一下国合署。那国合署呢是一个比较新的机构，它是2008年成立的，是一个国务院的直属机构。那么在这个成立的大背景呢，是中国提出了"一带一路"倡议。那"一带一路"倡议呢，其实就是随着这个倡议的推进，援外工作呢就变得越来越重要。早期中国也有一些援外的工作，在这之前呢，主要是就是它是在不同的部门里面，在不同的国家部门里面有自己的职责。那这是一个多部门的协调的事务。那么国合署成立之后，它把相关的一些职责，也就是主要在商务部和外交部的对外援助的职责呢，统一规整在了国合署。那么这样呢，也变成了一个多部门协调的机制，变成了一个独立的机构。那在这个国合署的下面呢，还有一个全球发展和南南合作基金，这也是中国在2015年提出来的。目前呢，总共运行的这个管理的基金呢有40亿美金从最开始的20亿美金2015年提出来的20亿美金，逐步增量到2022年提出的40亿美金。这个国合署开展外交活动的对象主要包括受援国的政府、国际上其他援助国的对口部门以及各种类型的国际组织。那么职能呢，主要是拟定中国的对外援助战略方针、规划政策。统筹协调援外重大问题，并且提出建议，推进援外方式的改革，编制对外援助的方案和计划。当然，非常重要的一点就是确定对外援助项目，并且监督对外援助项目的评估实施情况。除此之外，非常重要的一点就是在国合署的工作当中，还需要提高中国在发展援助里面的话语权。国合署成立之后呢，同时呢，就是推动在国务院发展研究中心成立了中国国际知识发展中心。这个中国国际知识发展中心呢，就管理的这个也按照这个政府的这种目标就推动建立一个全球发展的知识网络。这个国合署成立呢，当然它是2008年就成立了，但是它的成立以及呢它近期的一些工作呢，其实跟中国的全球发展倡议有很大的关系。我们也知道，中国在"一带一路"的这个倡议之下呢，更加的强调的是互联互通，强调的是中国的经济贸易的关系。但是在经济贸易关系当中，援外的这一个工作呢，就是更多的被放在了这个全球发展倡议下面。这全球发展倡议呢，是习近平总书记在2021年联大会议上面提出的。他的倡议的目标呢， 更加的重视民生项目，并且呢是跟联合国的这个2030年可持续发展议程一致的，也就是它的这个整个在项目的执行呢，很重要的一点也是要推动落实联合国的这个2030年的可持续发展议程。那从2021年开始到目前，我们也可以看到啊，就是在外交部的网站上面，大家如果说对中国的全球发展倡议相关的文件啊，以及执行的现状比较感兴趣的话呢，在外交部的网站上也可以看到，目前呢有这样的一些报告，有这样一些文件，也梳理了在全球发展倡议下面的一些行动计划成果。我们再看一下这个中国国际知识发展中心。那现在这个国合署的工作呢，特别是在这个推动建立全球发展知识网络这一方面呢，主要是由中国国际知识发展中心来执行的。那么中国国际发展中心呢，也就是也在进行一些研究，到目前为止呢，发布了一些相关的研究报告。在国际发展合作领域里面，目前总共有这样4篇，一篇呢就是绿色发展项目，一篇是小而美项目，这都是2025年的。那么在2023年呢，有2个研究报告，这个一个是中国对外援助项目评估体系篇，第二个呢是东亚减贫示范合作技术援助项目评估篇。那么今天我的汇报呢，主要是基于这2个报告。介绍一下这个对外援助项目的评估体系，以及就是东亚减贫项目就是事实上就是这个评估体系的一个非常好的应用，也是一个非常好的案例。中国的对外援助的发展历程呢，是伴随着中国对外援助事业的发展逐步建立完善的。在21世纪初呢，就已经有一些援外项目开展了评估探索的实践。但是真正的就是有更多的国际的经验加入，然后呢丰富完善评估体系，区分不同的援助类型等等，这个都是在2021年至2018年这一段时间呢，大家开始有意识的去就是做这方面的事情，并且呢也制定了一些对外援助的制度管理办法。这个很大的原因也跟我刚才提到的，就是中国的一带一路倡议随之而来的这种越来越多的对外援助的需要。从2018年以来呢，就是国合署成立之后，评估的完整性、科学性和有效性也明显增强，而且这个援助也是考虑到中国的实际，特别是中国的整个政府职能以及中国的在这个政府的这个架构下面的一些实际情况去构建的。评估的主要目标呢，当然首先是优化援外的管理工作，其次是提升援助的实际效果，第3个是增强援外决策质量和规划能力。评估的理念呢，中国是要重视的发展实教，就是它非常重视就是共商、共建、共享，就是中国现在的这个外交或者说国际合作是非常重视共商、共建、共享的，这也是中国“一带一路”倡议以及现在的大的国际合作舞台上面中国宣扬的共商、共建、共享。所以呢，在这个评估理念方面呢，也把共商、共评、共改作为行动指南，也是要通过评估来促进发展合作。第二呢，是对接国际议程，也是对接联合国的联合国的可持续发展目标。第3呢，是体现中国特色，基于中国援助活动的管理框架进行构建。第4呢，是坚持与时俱进。对外援助呢，是要灵活的去适应援外事业的发展，而且援外确实就是一个新的对中国来说是新事物。在改革开放初期到现在，我想也就是这10年，中国才更多的有这种援外的工作。在早期，其实我们还是接受了非常多的其他国家的这种援助工作。所以呢，如何在这个援外工作当中总结经验，是国合署在开展评估当中非常重要的工作内容。 首先呢，这个评估的总体原则是全面性，要涵盖援助管理各个阶段。第二是系统性，评估要适用多维度的援外项目。第三呢是科学性，要能够有效的指导和改善实践。第四是客观性，第五呢是实操性，要依赖于有效可行的规范管理流程。评估的主要文件依据和主体。主要文件依据是2018年国合署成立的3个文件，一个是对外援助管理办法，第二个呢是对外援助项目评估指标体系，第三个是对外援助项目评估工作指导手册。那参与的主体还有中国的所有相关方，具体包括国合署、援外的执行部门、评估的咨询机构、评估咨询机构、中国的驻外使领馆、援外项目的实施单位以及其他的合作单位。评估的流程，我想在座都是这个评估领域的专家，就是对这个流程相对来说也是比较熟悉的。一个包括评估前的准备，这有具体的有确定的一个评估的计划，比如说评估任务、沟通方案等等，还有评估的实施。评估的实施这个是非常重要的，就包括每个项目的情况都是不一样的，如何根据当地的项目的情况呢，搭建一个逻辑框架建立相应的指标体系，开展评估调研，这个其实都是一门学问。那最后包括最后提交工作总结等等，还有呢就是评估结果的应用。评估方法在这个整个评估方法里面呢，很重要一点就是指标综合评价法。在这里呢，它有设置了3个主要的评估指标，就是通用评估指标、专用评估指标和特殊评估指标。那整个指标的体系满分是100分，通用指标呢占80分，专用指标占20分。那么特殊评估指标呢，就是如果说在这个专用指标这个领域里面，有些项目呢并不太合适这个专用指标的话，那么就会用特殊的评估指标。那每一个指标后面呢都有一个3级的评价体系。在这个评价的过程呢是定量与定性结合的，对结果的分析呢，最后会得出总共5个等级吧，极差、差、中、良、优。这个呢就是在这个文件里面讲到的中国的对外援助评估体系的一个特点。这个特点呢就是叫做总结为一核，就是以通用指标为核心。那么2翼呢是指以专用和特殊指标为补充，就是这个20分的范围。第3个呢叫做3级，是总体采用3级指标设计，层层分解，最终将指标项一一对应分值，为开展定量分析奠定基础。评分标准刚才我们也说过了，根据所获得的分数，总共可以分为优、良、中、差、极差5级，每个都有对应的分数。评估的指标就是通用指标呢，主要是这个着眼于对外援助项目的一般管理链条，原则上适用于各类援助项目。通用指标分为过程指标、目标指标、效果指标，还有可持续性指标4类型指标。下设若干的2级、3级指标，体现政治、经济、社会综合效应的统一。专用评估指标呢，涵盖教育、卫生健康、文体、公共管理、交通、能源等10个领域。指标也是分为3级，也是下设若干的2级、3级指标。专用的评估指标呢是以定量的指标为主的，还有就是我刚才说的特殊评价指标，着眼于以上领域和项目类型无法覆盖的项目方式，包括优惠贷款项目、人力资源开发合作，还有刚才说的这个全球发展和南南合作基金项目等等。这个就是我们刚才说的，这个我就快点过去，就是 跟大家展示一下具体的这些评估指标的内容这个就是我们看到的是专用评估指标，上面分了10个领域，就具体每个领域里面包含什么样的内容，它的2级指标其实都可以在这个领域里面看到。这边另外一边是这个英文翻译，英文的版本。这个报告呢是中英文双语的。这个呢是特殊评估指标，特殊评估指标大概也涵盖这几类的项目，就是在之前的这个专用项目没有办法覆盖到的，就可以在这个可以使用特殊评估指标，包括优惠贷款项目、人力资源开发合作项目等等。接下来呢，我简单介绍一下这个指标呢在东亚减贫项目的应用。这个东亚减贫项目是2017年在柬埔寨、老挝、缅甸3个国家6个村组织实施的。2020年呢至2021年陆续完成。项目借鉴了中国减贫实践经验，结合受援国的实际，设计实施了乡村基础设施、乡村公共服务、农户生计发展、能力建设等一系列综合性的减贫措施，减贫援助措施。这都是项目的最开始启动的启动时的这个一些照片，也可以看到就是整个就是在这个湄公中南半岛这个领域，总共有6个村，每个国家2个村。再看一下这个整个减贫项目的实施架构方向。为什么我说这个是中国特色呢？它跟中国的现在整个援助的机构是有非常密切的关系的。就是它的执行部门，国合署立项之后，执行部门是在商务部，然后协助的这个有驻外的使馆，中国的国际扶贫中心。中国国际扶贫中心下面呢，它还有一些地方的这种扶贫中心。那么，比如说四川省的扶贫中心，广西的扶贫中心，云南的国际扶贫中心。那么，他们这些国家，比如说在云南呢，它就对口缅甸；在广西呢，对口老挝；在四川对口柬埔寨。每个这个中方的实施单位下面都有一部分的就是区域的专家团，就是四川的对口柬埔寨的中方专家团，还有广西和老挝有中方，广西呢是有组织了这个老挝项目的中方专家团，云南呢组织了缅甸项目的中方专家团。然后呢，这些项目都有一个中外的联合管理的办公室。我们可以看到在，柬埔寨呢是柬埔寨的农村发展部来具体的跟这个中国方面对接，在老挝是老挝的农林部，在缅甸呢是缅甸的农业、畜牧和灌溉部门。这个通用指标我就不再不再介绍了，就是3级的指标，这是英文版。然后整个评估过程，它是委托第三方的评估机构的，是国信国际工程咨询集团承担了评估任务。这整个评估的流程大概为期1年吧，就是到立项到最后开展评估报告论证，大概为期1年。这个我也因为时间马上到了，我也就不再详细介绍了。这个是项目的评估的，就是具体的操作，就是具体有什么样的项目包括在农业方面有种植业、养殖业和其他产业，分别在3个国家的这个项目的实施内容。这个呢就是整个项目的评估机制很细的这些评估的内容就是包括报告负责单位监测的频次等等。我最后讲一下这个项目的成果以及意义。这个我也不具体讲。就是在这个项目实施了3年之后，我们可以看到贫困村的贫困比率的变化情况。在柬埔寨它的变化并不是那么大，但是在老挝和缅甸效果呢还是非常显著的。你看在这个老挝呢，它大概有增长了超过20%几，就是整个就是减贫的 情况非常显著。这个是项目前后的对比啊，比如说这是同样的一条道路，这是在老挝的一条道路，这是路的就是援助项目之前，这是援助项目之后，从泥土路变成了石头路，还包括建了学校，改善了房子，也总体的整个项目呢也得到了很好的报道，就是当地媒体的一个报道。特别是包括跟这个中门的这个合作呢，也有一些项目来进行参观，也作为一个成果，作为成果来展示。不好意思，这个反应比较慢最后讲一下结论。结论呢，基本上可以说是建立了一种中外协调的对接机制和联合管理机制。因为我们知道国科署它在地区呢是没有办公室的，那么它怎么样进行监测呢？它就跟这些国家的相关部委进行合作，还有包括驻外的使领馆。在这个实践方面呢，非常注重发挥当地主体的能动性，并且呢精准帮扶和广泛收益。就像我刚才提到的，叫做共商、共建、共享。所以在这个合作当中，也是非常重视这个理念的贯彻，提升受援国的自主能力，注重汇聚、广泛合力。那么这种优秀的经验，应该说呢，这个项目是非常经验是非常好的，但是目前的情况就是很多项目呢还没有办法得到一个非常充分的评估，因为这对中国来说也是一个新的开始。从这个项目的这个经验，把它做成了报告就是发布了之后呢，我想越来越多的中国的政府部门以及他们的这种援外的项目以及其他的一带一路项目，都可以从这个项目当中呢学习到相关的经验，也有助于就是未来的评估意识的建立以及评估工作的推广。那我就简单介绍到这里，后续有什么问题的话，我们可以在提问环节当中讨论。谢谢大家。
Okay, thank you, Professor Lu, for sharing your insights on the SIIS practice. I think there are more details because of the time limit, but it shows that the SIIS is very seriously learning from the OECD countries and also innovating itself on the evaluation. Probably we look forward to see more information on this during the discussion stage. So next, please let's welcome Professor Qi from the China Agricultural University. Actually, I forgot to mention that China Agricultural University has, I'm very sure, the best team on international development cooperation. Please, Qi will share her insights on the evolution of Global South integration program paradigms. Redefining global economic connectivity, please.
Thank you, Professor Ye. I'm glad to share with you about this paradigm shift on regional integration cooperation and its corresponding methodology change, and also the implications for the future efforts on the regional integration. It's on the big background of this global economic change. And now we all see the change of this global South cooperation or global South contribution to global economy. In terms of this GDP share, it's already increased to by 16% in the last almost 24 years. And also particularly if we look into the Asian region, we will see that it will account for almost 50% of this total global GDP by 2040. And in terms of the consumption and productivity, it's also increasing significantly. So that could be the base for the new paradigm on the regional integration. It could be also the impacts, because of these previous decades
regional cooperation efforts. And in general, it could not be so specific, but we can see the trend of this cooperation change, integration cooperation change, the trend. And before the 1990s, as we all know that all different regional collaboration alliance setting up based on, we can call this new liberal principles. So market-driven was the very key element during that area. And going to the first 10 years of 21st century, there was a rising of so-called open regional lists, focusing more on this alliance by the southern countries to be against, not exactly, but not necessarily to be integrated into existing marketing system, but setting up like a kind of very independent system and represented by these Latin American countries. And after 10 years, we also saw some new emerging elements during those integration efforts. For example, the poverty alleviation, resilience building, capacity building for the southern countries, and also the collaboration, not limited in these southern countries like in the previous 10 years. And then going to this new decade, then some like digital integration, the green revolution, new green revolution integration, all those things are also raised as the key elements. So if we can just give a summary on those different characters during this paradigm change, then the first can go to these drivers, different drivers from this market-driven to the more integration of the state involvement, engagement, and also the different social organizations involvement. And the integration sequence was no more only from the liberation of the trade, the foreign direct investment, to this other integration. It's even just go beyond that. Some people-to-people exchange, this cultural exchange could be also put at the same time as long as other economic integration efforts. And the success metrics also expanded, not only in economic trade volume, I will also mention this later. And institutional approach was beyond the formal, legalized structures, but more dynamic, and even the members or those units could be just joining as they are ready, but not necessarily to be put in a fixed framework from the beginning. And correspondingly, the evaluation methodology also changed to some extent. Of course, these regional integration programs already accommodated this theory of change a lot, like Professor Hong already explained a lot. And it played a very important role in terms of it's analyzing the causal pathways and these achievements of the integration objectives, even in a very complex this multi-actor engagement context. But while the paradigm shift, this theory also changed by adding more elements like this knowledge sharing, and also more participatory engagement of the different actors at the practical level of applying the method. And they consistent with the evolving paradigm of integration itself. These evaluation metrics have also expanded from the traditional economic indicators to incorporate broader development in impacts in the qualitative dimension of integration. In the case of the Lantang-Mekong cooperation mechanism, could be also representing this type of change in terms of this paradigm, cooperation paradigm, and also methodology paradigm. In its new plan for the next 5 years cooperation, it's already mentioning these different layers of the evaluation, from this self-evaluation to this, to the independent third party, from the to peer review to the third party evaluation as well. And also it's mentioning not only economical connectivity, but also there's this cultural exchange, board trading, and also this health, medical, and also the cultural integration. Actually, we can just also again summarize it as this infrastructure connectivity is not only the one elements during this evaluation, but also the trade facilitation metrics, and also social and environmental metrics, like in this LMC integration case, the water resource management effectiveness is very important metrics during its evaluation. And this is also the summary from the paradigm change to its corresponding evaluation criteria, and also the methodology itself. I would like to present some conclusions. First is that the paradigm change has several characters. The first one is from the standardized prescription to context-specific solutions. The second one is from the hard infrastructure to comprehensive connectivity. And third one is from market or centric to develop the focused integration. And the fourth one is from external driven to the more initially strength initiatives. And also from all this change, we can see we can learn from not only from the past experiences, but also adapting all those learnings to this current existing collaboration efforts. And also for the international organizations, regional organizations like ADB actually contributed a lot for initiating, also facilitating this paradigm change. But at the same time, it's also just provided some spaces for these internal agencies to play important role in this change. And for the future implications, the first one is for the design. The future initiatives should incorporate flexible architectures that can include different geometry and multi-speed integration. And the second is about implementation. The modalities should emphasize pragmatic problem solving rather than ideological conformity. Sometimes institutionalization is always our focus, but sometimes
we have to consider it's not the fix at one time action. Yeah, it could be a very dynamic and process-oriented action, and the implication for evaluation should be just pay attention on capturing the multi-dimensional the different impacts of integration, like the social environment, political effects, recognizing the non-linear pathways. So I will just stop here and would like to hear more comments from you later. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Shi, for your theoretical framing of how the paradigm for evaluation has shifted. I think that the full paradigm shifts are the key message you gave us. So now we have finished the three presentations, and then now let's welcome our DG Ayumi Konishi from the ADB, and now actually the MCDF to give your observation and insights, please.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Dr. Yu. I'm glad to be here. First of all, as I was introduced, I'm here as a discussant to comment on three presentations made. And because of that, I didn't prepare any PowerPoint slides, so don't expect any slides here. Now, also, I was introduced, Dr. Yu, still keeps calling me as DG Konishi because I spent 32 years in Asian development. And then while I was in Asian development, I got directly involved in IMTGC, the Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, East ASEAN growth area, IMTGC, the first one was PIMPIA, so Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, East ASEAN growth area, IMTGP, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand growth triangle, Pacific Island Forum, Great American Sub-region Economic Cooperation Program, and AREC program. So 5 of them, I worked all of them directly. So I have been, throughout my career, I have been a practitioner of regional cooperation rather than the evaluator. And then there is always a question or sort of myth here that the evaluators tend to think that the practitioners hate evaluators, but that's not true. That we as practitioners actually love evaluations because every time we do something, we always keep thinking that hey, next time if we're going to do this again, we'd like to do better. So at least the practitioners also love to learn from our past, what we have done. Now, in CDF, we recently produced 2 publications. This is the Southeast Asia, which is the catalyzing connectivity in Southeast Asia, done by major MDBs in Southeast Asia. This one is a similar series that breaking Central and West Asia and bridging Central Asia and West Asia and the world. So this is the comparison of the MDB activities in Central Asia. We have done this because we all want the MDB community to learn how we can do that. Well, I can also even say this, that I was introduced that I came from this MCDF, Multilateral Cooperation Center for Development Finance. Okay, that's a long name, I'm sorry, but then one important thing is that in MCDF, this international initiative, supported by 13 IFIs right now, 7 donor countries, we were born based on ADB's systematic evaluation study done back in 2015, Asian Development Bank Support for Regional Cooperation and Integration. This study was done back in 2015, and the key findings that ADB on an average, actually the success rate of the projects were about 20% higher for regional projects as compared to the country-specific projects. The reason why? Because the regional projects tend to be better prepared. However, based on this recommendation, the board wanted ADB management to increase the ratio of regional projects. AD management was rather lukewarm in responding to that recommendation for a very simple reason, that regional project require more time and money. So MCDF was created as an initiative, independent initiative, basically to support financially the preparation of regional projects or to spread IFI practices to national development banks, other finances, so that this global pie for infrastructure investment will increase. Now, knowing that the time, okay, so I have 10 more minutes. Now, I then would like to turn to the three presentations made by three distinguished speakers. And first of all, thank you so much. I learned a lot, and I always love to learn. So there's no misunderstanding between the practitioners and the evaluators. Now, then, when I was working on, let's say, Great American Collaboration Economic Cooperation Program, one important lesson or the very basic principle we are supposed to follow is called 2 plus x, 6 minus x. I wonder whether any one of you know what this really means. Any takers? Boo-boo? You should know. No? Oh, okay, sorry. Now, the 2 plus x, 6 minus x principle basically is that, okay, GMS, Great American Collaboration Economic Cooperation Program, is supported by 6 countries in Southeast Asia, plus southern part of China. And 2 plus x principle basically is that as long as 2 countries agree to do something, we should better let that particular initiative to start moving instead of waiting for all 6 countries to reach a consensus. Because if you keep waiting for everybody to reach consensus, nothing is going to happen. And it just takes so long. If we are to talk about cross-border transportation agreement in many parts of the world, it takes 10, 20, 30 years to negotiate. Now, do we want to really wait that long? Or as long as you agree on the principle, do you want to let things start happening? Now, so then, here's a question to Dr. Houqi Hong. That, now I appreciate your comprehensiveness of your study at the project level, program level. But then, when we talk about regional cooperation, can we really be clear about what that particular regional cooperation program can achieve in a finite period of time? We are dealing with unknown global situation. Once in a global situation, we never really know what's going to happen in the future. Now, GMS program in particular has started as a peace dividend after the regional unrest in Southeast Asia. At that stage, when it was started, all people could hope for was that, okay, as those 6 countries start working together, something good should happen without really knowing what was supposed to happen. So then, how to make the evaluation possible in such unknown situation? Okay, that's my question to Mr. Houqi Hong. Now, the second presentation by Professor Lu Yan, I certainly appreciate that China's SIIS, in particular, has a very elaborate sort of evaluation mechanism to back it up. But as we know, that evaluation for us means 2 things. One, accountability, and the second is learning. Now, then, okay, now for SIIS, China has developed a elaborate, very comprehensive evaluation mechanism. I appreciate that. That's great. And particularly, it has started only in 2018. Only in 7 years, they already have developed, such a extensive evaluation mechanism framework, and then they have done evaluations. That's great. Now, the question is how to institutionalize such learning into the next stage. So what kind of mechanism is there to internalize evaluation findings is something I'm very curious to learn from you. Finally, on the presentation by Professor Gubo, again, I very much appreciate that paradigm shift in the development assistance of regional cooperation. But let us be very clear that regional cooperation initiative, even the one started long time ago, the new ones hasn't really replaced the old ones. Old ones are still there, and then new initiatives are always just being added and added and added. For example, that Lanchamekon Initiative Regional Cooperation Mechanism, supported by China, was mentioned, but then it didn't replace GMS, it didn't replace ASEAN. So then, as we try to evaluate the effectiveness and the achievement of newer generation or newer approaches to regional cooperation, how are we going to really talk about this multiplicity of layers of initiatives and their integration, harmonization in the evaluation framework? Would be probably my third question. And then, finally, as since Dr. Ayumi, wanted me to be very brief, so I should be stopping here by finally making one more remark that MCDF, this is the Regional Multilateral Cooperation Center for Development Finance, our initiative has actually started back in 2021, and then we are now at the 5th year. Because we are supported by 7 donor countries, we are now at the stage of evaluating ourselves. Actually, our governing instrument has a requirement for us to have independent evaluation, and we have done that. So we engage external experts to do a study. This is going to be the basis. So there are interesting findings, recommendations. Some of them we, the ones within the system, we disagree. But then at least there is a study here, and we will be basically drawing up the blueprint for the future of MCDF in the next period being 2017-2031, together with all our partners based on that evaluation being done. So let me stop here. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, DJ Konishi. Actually, you said 3 minutes. You can use it later. And so thank you for your very comprehensive and also, I think, sharp questions for our speakers. And before I open the floor, let's invite our speakers responding to the questions raised by DJ Konishi. So why not Mr. Hong first?
Thank you. Thank you for the very insightful comments and the question, Amy. Indeed, peace evidence is a very important proposal in the discussion about potential contribution of ASEAN. So in our evaluation, we, as mentioned, we used the basic theory of change approach to look at each individual projects, including PAS, but also the different programs. And then put them together to formulate an overall assessment about enemy support for ASEAN. So peace dividend, we don't have good measurement on that. We did explore the external available database. For example, in Europe, there is a global conflict risk index. And we tried to use that, but the data accounted some problem. One is not all countries, the data did not cover all countries at the time of the evaluation. And also another issue is attribution, right? there are so many contributors to peace. The regional cooperation support is just a very small player in the process. We have more big regional organizations, for example, that there are some which are specialized in building peace. So that's another difficult. So that's why we use the theory of change approach. We look at the individual programs and see whether the inputs resulted in outputs that could be lead to improve the peace. Again, we didn't have the data, so we used the basic one, interviews, right? We interview the government counterparts. What their opinion? Ask them, was there any support for the CARET program, for example, help improve the peace among the countries? So we interviewed all relevant country counterparts and also NGOs. Unfortunately, we cannot conclude that the support in ASEAN contributed significantly to peace. That's why we didn't mention this, because this is inconclusive. We didn't mention in our report, but theoretically, it's a good proposal. I personally believe that there should be some contribution. For example, countries highly appreciate ADB's role as the neutral, honest broker. Even some big countries even mentioned, without ADB in the process, my country as a big country would also have difficulty to integrate with other countries, even the small countries. So that's the background. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. I think this exactly shows how the peace as a public good, global and regional public good, is non-exclusive, indivisible, and also very difficult to attribute. Who contribute to that? So, great. So how the interviews can help the evaluation. So the next question for Professor Wu.
Yeah, and thank you for Ayumi's questions. So I think you asked me how China so to internalize all these kind of knowledge and how it could do better in future. So through this kind of evaluation work. So I mentioned in my presentation that China, this sector has established a center in the State Council Development Research Center, which calls the China Center for International Knowledge on Development. And this center conducting lots of reports. For example, the reports I just presented in my presentation, and it also promotes a global development knowledge network. So I think this is important things because most of the development knowledge currently are very Western, I would say, centered. Because it's based on the Western countries, their age experience. But from the perspective of developing countries, which means we are now, we can also offer some aids. We are also offering these kinds of projects. But the China's perspective should be different from the perspective of previous these kinds of Western experience, and for example, China is also learning from the MDBs and try to know how to how to get a better evaluation. But these kind of cases, that is Asia cases and these evaluation cases should be the good cases. I think there is a lot of projects, but maybe most of them we can know only from these good cases, and how the other cases are contacted. I do not have more internal perspective. But I think this is a good start because you see there's a lot of experiences and they try to coordinate different kinds of state institutions from the center and to the local, so provincial level, and from the provincial level to the regions, for example, South Asia, and if there are some projects in the Central Asia, definitely like China's Xinjiang province and Mongolia province, they have some offices that can help to conduct such kinds of aid projects, which means these kinds of experience is based on China's state institutions and China's own experiences. And China is also different from the others because it is also a developing country. China has conducted a lot of poverty reductions, quite successful in poverty reductions projects. This is why I think, as far as, actually I'm working on international politics, I'm not expert on evaluation, but this is also a new area for me. And I observe a lot of Belt and Road projects, and I know that there's a strong need from these kinds of projects that they want to know they want evaluation, but they don't know how. Or there is a strong basis on these. For example, I'm also working on the projects on the it is from the Asian Financial Cooperation Association, which is China's non-governmental association. There's a lot of financial institutions as members. They are working on financial projects, for example, on connectivities, but then they don't know how to evaluate later and how to allocate their monies later. So this is why I think now these kind of reports or these kind of criteria is listed on the official websites, and later more and more people will get to know about this and evaluation, especially in these kind of aid projects or China's Belt and Road projects, other projects that are fostering connectivities. And this is a good start. I think it's a learn by doing process, and just like Chinese reform, it takes time, but you see that it takes only from 2018 onwards, it's only 7 years, and they have done a lot of work so far. So I think my last slides I did not show previously, but you can go to the website of SIIS and you can go to you can see all these kinds of reports, and also you can go to the website of Center for International Knowledge on Development. You can see lots of reports, and I think you may find your own evaluations of China's work. Thank you.
Okay, great. Probably I just add one point on Professor Lu, the question you raised about the institutionalized of the evaluation. The Communist Party of China's the 20th session, has a specific sentence on we should institutionalize, we should improve our institutional setup for the development cooperation, for the development aid. So there's a central leadership in pushing this. And the background for that, I think, is because China actually, the BRI actually suffered from the evaluation trap by the Western countries, because there's a lot of talk about debt trap, so much trap. Actually, if you don't do evaluation yourself, you will be evaluated by the others. So, as a transparency initiative, I think this is a very encouraging step forward. And probably I myself, and I think including you, would look forward to more publishing of the results of the evaluation. Because now we have only seen the process, those details in the institutional setup, but we didn't see what are the results for all the projects. So let's look forward for the next step. And so lastly, please let's invite Professor Qi for responding the question raised by Konishi, please.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Ayumi. I think this question is quite important, so we cannot just start from zero. Yeah. Everything has the accumulated base. So today's success or today's added value should be owed to also the previous learning process, previous contribution of the other collaborative units until today. Yeah. But still, I want to answer the question about this added value, how to evaluate it. Really corresponding to this newly established collaboration unit's contribution. I think first it's still based on some existing services I already described. I think Professor Hong, Professor Lu also mentioned. We just add all those new components, all those pillars, like not only this economical connectivity, like infrastructure building, those railways, production capacity, like all those sectors, those factories, but also there's some soft elements like this water resources, this natural resources, and agriculture and poverty reduction, health, digital economy, and people exchange, and so on. And also along with all those new pillars involved, some still this very quite classic methods could be still applied, like we called like this DID double indifference deviation analysis. So, and also there's some qualitative analysis method could be also used, like deeper narrative description or something like that. Yeah, process-oriented interview and big historical event, all those different qualitative methods could be also accommodated to this analysis. This is the first one. And the second one, of course, I think is still missing is some, I think, inherited or maybe learned lessons in terms of this institutional capacity change. Probably because just like your question to Professor Lu and Lu's answers, I think it's quite important also to see this connection between this newly established collaboration unit and the previous ones. And for example, I think not only the ways of collaboration, integration, but also there's some ideas. Though we cannot be limited into the ideology, but the ideas sometimes could be also flowing to each other. For example, those outreaching to community, this environmental gardening, all those things actually I think previous collaboration already mentioned a lot along with its own evolution. So I think today all those really very shining elements are also already integrated into those newly established ones. But today probably when we talk about more about the outcomes of those integration, we should also focus on this institution capacity as well. I think. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Professor Chi. I noticed that it's already 3:07, but since we started late and we have 30 minutes for tea break, probably we can have 10 more minutes or something. What is it okay for the organizer or for the seven or so? Do you have any? Okay. Yes.
Since I started talking about this topic, I also want to give some insights on this. That when we were working on the Greater Mekong Sub-region Economic Cooperation Program, okay, and I'm talking about in late 90s, there was a big concern, whether GMS is in conflict with ASEAN, because ASEAN as a sub-regional initiative, there's much clearer political mandate given. Compared to that, GMS really didn't have any legal standing as such. Then, that late 90s, that because of the ASEAN financial crisis, BIMPIAGA or the IMTGT, those two regional cooperation initiatives became almost dormant. And then, we in the Asian Development Bank try to revive them, with the help, or even supporting the Philippine government in particular. And then again, there was a question, whether the IMTGT or BIMPIAGA are in conflict with ASEAN as an initiative. The breakthrough came in I think November 2000, that ASEAN, in their deliberations, came up with what they call IAI, Initiative for ASEAN Integration. In this IAI statement, ASEAN made it clear that either IMTGT, BIMPIAGA, GMS, all these sub-regional regional cooperation initiatives are important building blocks of ASEAN integration. And in a way, politically, that really cleared the way for us to continue working with those sub-regional programs, despite this multiple layer, or the ASEAN officially announced this multiple layer thing is effective and useful. Just to give a little background.
Okay, thank you. This reminds me of in the academic theory, there's a term called regime complex. I think this exactly shows how it works and interact with each other. So actually, I personally have more questions, but I definitely would like to open the floor to give you the chance to raise the questions. If any of you have questions, please raise your hands. No? Oh, please.
If comments are also allowed.
Of course, very welcome.
Is this working? Yes. Okay, my name is Christoph David Weinmann from Protein Consulting in Malaysia. First of all, praise to all of you. I think the presentations were excellent. So whatever I'm saying here is just whining at a very high level, right? I think this is excellent. I very much commend the work of the Chinese government and institutions on what is that, and improving, bringing the aid mechanism, or owning the aid mechanism and transferring it in your own way to other countries. I'm an evaluator for several decades, so for me the paradigm and the discussion didn't begin in the 1990s, right? We can also talk about development theory since the 1950s. Yeah, so that's a possibility to do, but we are where we are. I think one thing that I want to emphasize is
when we do evaluation, we have to make sure that people who do the evaluation should have some knowledge at least of practice. And I feel that in the recent years we have a tendency to become very theoretical at the evaluator end, and maybe not enough theoretical at the practitioner end, right? So normally my recommendation is that people who are working on evaluation should also have implementation experience. That usually helps a lot, right, in mending the gap that seems to occur, right? But I understand, right, that the practitioner actually always wants the evaluator to come, right? But then if it becomes too theoretical, right, and sometimes can become if people don't have that experience of implementing projects on the ground, then we sometimes have results that may not always be perfect, right? So I think we should work in the profession to make sure that the evaluators that we have also have implementation experience as much as they can. So that's one suggestion I have for all of us. Then we always recognize now that there are non-linearities in what we have in the field, but I have not heard in any of the presentations a recommendation how we do it not in a nonlinear way. Normally the answer would be systems theory. Right? We would have systems-based approaches that typically are there to deal with non-linearities, because this is exactly what covers that area. So maybe we need some more work, some more refinement in that area to actually find solutions. And another point that I felt was important is to remember that in project analysis, we never analyze before and after. What was it like before? What is it after? The thing that we actually have to analyze is what was it without project and what with project. What is actually the real project contribution? Because you might have an upward trend that the project is just building on. So you cannot claim the whole upward, right? Or maybe we've stopped a downturn, right? And we are measuring lower results when actually we have contributed a lot. So that's very important in the terms of vocabulary and thinking about project evaluations, that we never measure before and after, but we measure without and with project results, right? That's maybe enough.
Okay, great. Thank you for your great comments. I realize I'm definitely not qualified for being an evaluator because I don't have experience on the implementation. Okay, so any more questions? If no more questions from the floor, probably, please, my colleague, Dr. Yao Le. Okay, just a mic, please, a mic. Thanks, Professor Ye, and also thanks for all the speakers for your very insightful share of your knowledge and your experience. Actually, I have a little bit technical questions about the evaluation of the development program. And just as the Mr. Hong just mentioned that it's very hard to evaluate a program's effect of one country's spillover effect, or it's a kind of the cross-border program's effect. And I also think about that for the development program, some fruits are really visible, but there are also many invisible effects, and it's really hard to be made the quantitative analysis. But we also think that the evaluation should be objective and should be scientific. So my question is that, so for the evaluation system, how to deal with these difficulties to make all these invisible effects of the spill or effects of the program to be evaluated more systematically in our methods. Thank you.
Thanks for the question. Indeed, we need to take care of the long-term impacts of interventions. But this is usually always more difficult to assess. We have several mechanisms. One is that we have some evaluations that is real ex post, meaning that is after several years, 5 years or more after the completion, we do another evaluation and assess the long-term impact. The second is we cannot just use the direct indicators because these long-term impacts, they are not the direct results of usually of the project, and also a lot of other players, other contributors. So in this case, we need to use different kinds of methodologies, including triangulating evidence from different sources, quantitative, qualitative, but also econometric modeling if needed. For example, the IMF once did an evaluation of IMF's support's contribution to trade in recipient countries. And that one was based on a very sophisticated econometric model because there is no direct data on that. So I'll stop here. Thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you for your excellent answer. And I think we must conclude this session, and I will leave my own questions for you after the meeting. So let's finally thank our 3 speakers and 1 discussant. And thank you also to the organizer and here Ms. Chen and her team for giving us the chance. So thank you all the audience as well for joining us. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to contact them. Thank you so much.